Good morning, good afternoon, and welcome to our Fund Flows in Review webinar, where today we will be discussing fund flows for both the month of March as well as the first quarter of 2023. My name is Aaron Versak. I'm an account executive for our institutional team here at YCharts, and today I am joined by my colleague Sarah Chrysler from our customer success team. Now, before we get going, please keep in mind that the content of this webinar is meant for educational purposes only and is not intended to be used as investment advice, nor is YCharts acting as an advising party regarding client funds in any way. I'd also like to point out that a recording of this webinar will be emailed to everybody tomorrow and will be also available as a replay on our YouTube channel. So remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of our newly released videos. One other thing that I do want to point out before we get going, you will also notice a QR code in the upper right-hand corner of the slides. Scanning that code will take you to our free trial page. Now, for those who do sign up for a free trial, somebody from the team will reach out to schedule some time to discuss not only best practices, but some quick tips on leveraging YCharts in your discussions. Now, before we dig into the first quarter fund flows, let's take a look at what happened in the first quarter, right? So we continue to see a rising interest rate environment, with the Fed raising rates by 25 bips in February as well as March. We also saw inflation continue to ease a bit in recent months, settling in at 4.98% at the end of March, down from 6.45% in January. Now, while this is still a ways off from the Fed's 2% target inflation rate, many are starting to expect that rate hikes could soon come to an end. In March, we also saw banking community uncertainty created by the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank, followed 1 week later by Credit Suisse being bought by UBS, which was brokered by the Swiss authorities. We also continue to see risk-off investor sentiment with increasing net inflows into money markets and fixed income throughout the quarter. Now, despite all of this, we still saw positive equity returns, which was led by large cap, and certainly with growth outperforming value led by the technology sector. So with that, let's dig into fund flows for both the month of March and the first quarter. So as we take a look at the broad category asset flows for March and Q1, you'll notice that money market funds dominate net flows for both the month of March as well as the first quarter, with a little over 361 billion flowing into money market in March to bring that first quarter total to over 439 billion. Now, thinking back to January and February on our fund flow webinars, we had January money market inflows of 28 billion, February net inflows at a little over 51 billion. So you're seeing more and more money move to the sidelines in January and February. And then in March, we see the turmoil in the banking community, largely contributing to the dramatic increase in money market flows in March. Now, while money market flows in March and throughout the first quarter are dramatically higher than all of the other broad categories, we still saw a net inflow for fixed income in both March as well as the first quarter, with March net inflows of a little over 11 billion and first quarter inflows of a little over 86 billion. And on the next slide, we're actually going to dig into fixed income a little bit more. So right, as we take a look at the fixed income mutual fund and ETF flows for the month of March in the first quarter, you'll see that in March, long government led the way with 9.6 billion in net inflows, followed by intermediate gov and intermediate core bond. Short-term bond led net outflows for the month with a little over 8.8 billion in outflows, followed by bank loans and high yield bonds, which were the other two fixed income categories with net outflows in the month of March. If we look at the chart on the right, highlighting fixed income flows for the first quarter, we see that intermediate core bond and intermediate core plus led the pack with 33.8 billion and 27.5 billion in net inflows, while high yield, short-term bond, and bank loans were the three fixed income categories with net outflows for the quarter. Now let's shift gears to the equity flows of mutual funds and ETFs for the month of March as well as the first quarter. And really what we're looking at here, we'll start with the month of March. Large cap value led the way in net outflows with a little over 8.9 billion, followed by large cap growth with just under 2.5 billion in outflows. Both mid cap and small cap equity mutual funds and ETFs showed new outflows across the equity style spectrum in March, The only equity category in March with net inflows being large blend, bringing in just under 1.5 billion in net inflows. Now, if we look at what equity mutual funds and ETFs did in the first quarter, we see that large cap growth and value lead net outflows, with mid cap blend and small cap value actually showing some net inflows for the quarter, with mid cap blend bringing in 1.6 billion in net flows, while small cap value brought in just over 2.2 billion. So despite the positive returns in equities in the first quarter, largely led by large cap, we're still seeing first quarter outflows across most of the equity styles, which also happens to be led by large cap. Now, at this point in the presentation, I will turn it over to Sarah.
Thanks, Aaron. So I'll be taking over the rest of the presentation here. The next couple of slides, we're going to take a look at March 2023, Q1 2023, as well as 1 year trailing time period here. And then as you can see, this is sorted by Q1 2023, that column with the blue arrow there. To start, we're looking at most inflows and outflows for just ETFs. As we can see in the top section here, fixed income ETF inflows continue as the overall trend of flight to safety persists. Ultra short bond is the inflow leader for Q1 here with just over 15 billion, which is no surprise given the continued uncertainty in our environment and investors' desire for overall safer assets. And then to that same point, highest outflows, which we see below here, were within equity and higher risk bond holdings. Now moving on to mutual funds, same layout with the time periods here, but this time looking at inflows and outflows for mutual funds. You can see here again, definitely echoing some of Aaron's prior comments, the biggest story being the massive money market inflows that we saw in the month of March. So along that top line there, you can see 361 billion just in the month of March alone, which accounts for just shy of 82% of that 438.4 total Q1 figure, and just shy of 70% of the 1 year $521.7 billion figure. So again, truly just a great visual that depicts the impact of the banking instability that we saw in March, and just general uneasy feelings towards our macro environment right now. This last visual here actually comes from our summary fund flows report, which I'll show you an example of in a minute here. And this shows us combined net flows, so for both mutual fund and ETF net flows by equity style. So as we can see, during these time periods, primarily red, signaling that investors were net redeemers of equities over on the left-hand side here. On the right, we're looking at performance, and we do see that despite the Q1 outperformance that we saw within growth stocks, growth continues to see outflows, with the only equity style that recorded positive inflows for the month of March being a large cap blend. So overall, pretty tough Q1 and 1 year for equity styles in terms of flows. So next, I'm actually going to dive into the YCharts tool. I'm going to show you how you can access these fund flow reports directly within your YCharts account. I do also want to point out our quarterly econ reports and where you can find those. I'm going to touch on our mutual fund and ETF data pages and show you how you can find additional fund flow information and view fund flows in a different format on those pages. And then last, I'm going to show you our newly released report builder functionality and show you how you can tie fund flows into our report builder tool. So getting started here, I'm going to navigate over to this tab. When you're within your YCharts account, if you hover over the support button here, you'll see the fund flows report button about halfway down. If I click that, that's going to bring me to our fund flow reports library. Now, the first thing I want to point out here, this large click here button, if you're not currently subscribed to receive these reports monthly in your inbox and you want to do so that you're the first to receive these when they're released, definitely click on this click here option here to subscribe to that. They'll be sent directly to your email. Now you'll see up top here, we do have 3 different versions of the fund flow reports available. So this first fund flow report is going to show us the categories, and it's also going to show us the top 5 funds within those categories. So I actually have an example pulled up here of what that looks like. So you can see we're looking at inflows for mutual funds. We have these top 5 categories here. And if you scroll down here, you're actually able to see a further breakdown looking at flows as well as performance for funds within those categories. The next version here is our strategy flows report. This is going to give you a holistic or aggregate view of flows for different categories and strategies over different time periods. So prior month, quarter, and year. And I also have an example of that pulled up here, so you can see what that would look like. And then the last option here is our summary visuals deck. This is going to be a presentation deck with visuals, so the actual charts that we're using. This would be a really great option if you're wanting to share this on social media or a blog. So definitely check that out as well. Again, you can find these by hovering over support and clicking on Fund Flows Report. If you're a fan of the Fund Flows Report, I definitely want to draw your attention to our economic summary deck, which you can also find on this page. So you're on this page, just a couple options above the Fund Flows Report here on the left. You click this economic summary deck. It's actually super timely because we just recently released our Q1 2023 economic summary deck here. This is just a great resource with visuals and key takeaways for market happenings over the last quarter. So if you like the Fund Flows Report, highly recommend navigating here as well and checking these out. The next area I want to draw your attention to within YCharts is our ETF data pages, or data page, excuse me. So to get there, I'm going to hover over data and click on ETFs. Actually, I have this tab open right here. This is the page that's going to populate for you. So we also have this page available for mutual funds, which you navigate to by clicking on data and mutual funds. This is really the home page for an aggregate view of all ETFs within YCharts. So you can see here we have several different module options. The first one being performance by style. I have the option to select equity or fixed income, as well as view different time periods. Similar option here, but now breaking it out by broad asset class. Again, different options I can click on, as well as time periods. What I really want to focus on today is this fund flows and performance over time module, as well as the one below it, fund flows and performance. So starting here, you'll see that I have some categories listed, as well as fund flows over different time periods, and then performance here towards the right. What's really cool is you have the ability to expand here. If I click see all categories, this is going to give you a view into all available Morningstar categories. So if you're really wanting to see fund flows in aggregate all in one place, this is definitely a great place to check out. Again, you have the option to sort by any of the fund flows time periods or performance if you would prefer to do so. And then the last module here below is a similar layout, except it gives you more of a conditional formatted view here. So I have the option to look at fund flows or performance over those different time periods. But what is nice here is you have an additional customization option, and you can actually edit the categories that are showing. So, you know, wrapping up Q1, say there's some categories that you really want to monitor closely going into Q2. You can simply click edit categories, and these are showing you, what's currently populating, but you're able to search for any categories that you want to add here, up to 12 at once. Once you hit apply, those changes will take place on your page. You'll be able to quickly navigate back to this data page and monitor those throughout Q2 or month of, April, May, whatever it might be. So lots of customization ability there that allows you to monitor fund flows in a different format. Now, as I said in the beginning, this is looking at ETFs, but we have the exact same layout available for mutual funds. So again, hovering over that data tab, I'll just click on mutual funds, same exact layout you'll see here. So same modules. And then here's where you have the option to see all categories. And that option below where, again, more conditional formatted, and you can edit the categories that you want to see on your page. So the last area of YCharts that I want to walk through with you today is our report builder. So this is a newly released function within YCharts. It is an add-on feature. How I got here was hovering over tools. I clicked on report builder about halfway down here, and that'll bring you to this general page. Now to get started, I would click on this create new dropdown at the top right here, and you'll see I have two options. You have the option to start from a completely blank report, so completely from scratch, and kind of build out your report however you want to. You also have the option to start from a YCharts template. think this option is super nice, gives you a nice foundation, and then allows you to customize from there. So for today's example, I'm going to show you how you can build kind of a mini fund flows report using our multi-comparison report as a template. So to start, I'm going to click this create new from YCharts template. And I actually am using this multi-comparison comprehensive report, no benchmark, and I clicked start. Now I have this open in a new tab here. So our multi-comparison reports are going to allow you to compare up to, or 3 to up to 6 funds at once. Now I'm going to be brought into the report here where you'll see all the existing modules that are within my report. If I click on any of these, options will appear on the left where I'm able to delete this module. So again, customization, if you did not want to include a particular module in this report, you have the option to delete on the left here. But what I wanted to do today is show you how you can use our security metrics module to create a mini fund flows report, if you will, for the 3 to 6 funds that you're looking at. So what I did here, I'm going to show you with this blank space right below here. If I click on this blank space, all the available modules are going to populate for me along the left side here. So I'm looking at the security metrics module. That's the one that I added. If I want to add that into my report, all I'm going to do is drag it from the left here over to the right directly within my report. Now, once I click on that, you'll see that the option on the left here populates for me to customize all these metrics that are added. So what I did in my fund flows version up here, if I click on that, you'll see that I renamed the module to fund flows. And then I adjusted all the metrics here to look at fund flows over different time periods, as well as total AUM. So super cool option there, again, with customization that allows you to add that to a particular report. Maybe you want to monitor your fund against some competitors or closely monitor just your funds, whatever it might be, definitely have the option to do so using our report builder. The last module I want to point out here, I'm going to use this blank page right below. So again, clicking on the blank space will populate all the available modules that I can add along the left here. And what I want to point out is, again, further hammering home the point of customization here with this report builder tool. I want to point out this full page image module here. So if I were to drag and drop this over, what this allows you to do is add custom firm branding. So say you wanted to add, bios and headshots of people on your team. You wanted to add firm fact sheets, custom disclosure language, whatever it might be. You have the option to drag that full page image module over, and you can simply search for the file, upload, the image or PDF document directly into the report, and you have that ready to go. So customization on the fly, building a report for whatever your particular fund, strategy, whatever it might be, needs, you have the ability to do that within our new report builder tool. Now, once you have made those changes and you're completed, you would just click this save dropdown, make sure you save, and then this generate button would populate for you where you're able to generate that report, enter the funds you want to run it for, and you're good to go. So that really wraps up the aspects of report builder that I wanted to touch on today. Again, highly recommend connecting with your account manager or Aaron and myself to learn more about the report builder functionality. So navigating back to our presentation here, I did touch on this when I brought you to the Fund Flows report page within YCharts, but if you want to subscribe to the Fund Flows report, you also have the option to do so using this link directly. You should be able to click on this and subscribe right here. And then you also are able to find a historical fund flows report. Again, it's going to support fund flows report. If you were to scroll down, you'd see those historical reports as well, or you can click on this link directly to access that. Want to thank you all for tuning into our webinar today. As Aaron pointed out in the beginning, if you scan this QR code here, you'll be brought to a place that you can sign up for access to YCharts. If you have any questions or if you'd like to chat with myself or Aaron or your account manager further, please don't hesitate to reach out to us and we'd be happy to assist. Thanks again, everyone, and hope you have a great rest of your day.